I was working at a hotel in New Zealand when an American businessman marched up to the front desk, clearly furious. He had just flown in from Los Angeles and slapped his travel documents on the counter. "I've been cheated," he said. "I left LA on Monday night and I didn't get here until Wednesday morning. My entire Tuesday is missing. I want a refund for the day your country took from me, both for the flight and the hotel." I spent nearly 10 minutes explaining how crossing the international date line works, but he refused to believe it. He was convinced airlines and hotels had teamed up globally to steal a day from travelers. He left, muttering about lawsuits and corruption. In my British history class in England, a Texan exchange student raised his hand during a lecture on the War of 1812. With complete sincerity, he asked, "If the British burned down our capital, why didn't America just nuke them back?" The professor calmly explained that nuclear weapons wouldn't exist for another 130 years, and that history didn't quite work like action movies. A friend of mine tended bar in a centuries-old pub in Edinburgh. One night, an American tourist looked around at the stone walls and dark wooden beams and said, "Wow, this theme bar is incredible. Who designed it? It feels so authentic, like something at Disney." Without missing a beat, my friend replied, "We're still refining the concept. Started the design phase around 1381. The man laughed, assuming it was a joke, and asked to speak to the manager to praise the decor. I once sat across from an American family on a train in Germany. As we passed a massive wind farm, the teenage son stared out the window and said, "Germany must get a lot of tornadoes." When his dad asked why, the kid pointed and said, "Look at all those giant fans blowing them away." His father nodded thoughtfully and replied, "That's German engineering for you, planning ahead." I used to work for a travel agency when a woman called asking to book a European vacation. "I want to see the Pope in Rome, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and the Queen in London," she said. "I only have a weekend, and I want to drive." When I explained the distance and international borders, she sounded annoyed. "But they're all in the EU," she said. "That's basically one country. It shouldn't take longer than driving from Dallas to Houston." While backpacking in Bangkok, I overheard an American traveler ranting that you had to go to the United States to get real Asian food. He had ordered sweet and sour chicken at a traditional Thai restaurant and was deeply offended when they served pad Thai instead. He genuinely believed American takeout was the original blueprint for all Asian cuisine. At my university in England, we hosted exchange students from Texas. After another lecture on the War of 1812, one student raised his hand again and asked, "So if you guys burned Washington, how come we're cool now? Didn't we retaliate with nukes or something?" Once again, the professor gently reminded him that atomic bombs wouldn't exist for over a century. At the ruins of Pompeii, I overheard an American teenager say to his mother, "So a volcano erupted and killed everyone, right?" When she confirmed, he scoffed and said, "That's really stupid. Why didn't they just check a volcano app?" He went back to scrolling on his phone, unaware of the irony. I worked in a souvenir shop near the DMZ in South Korea when an American tourist asked, "So which one is the good Korea and which one's the bad one?" After I explained the history, he frowned and said, "But why is the bad one called North? In America, the North won the Civil War." That's confusing for tourists. A chef friend of mine in Lima once served ceviche to an American couple at a high-end restaurant. After a few bites, the man waved him over and said, "This is an excellent starter. Could you take the fish back and cook it now? We're ready for dinner." He assumed ceviche was just raw fish waiting to be cooked. On a flight from Chicago to Dublin, the man next to me found out I was Irish and asked, "So, do you still have leprechauns, or are they extinct now?" I told him they were protected by the government and their population was slowly recovering. He nodded seriously and wrote it down. On another flight, an American woman traveling to Cairo was deeply concerned about Arabic writing. "It's all squiggles," she said. "How are you supposed to read street signs?" They should really offer an English setting. An American exchange student in Australia once examined our colorful polymer bills and asked, "Why does your money feel fake?" He wondered if it was temporary currency until the country could afford real paper money like US dollars. At a hotel in Amsterdam, an American guest called the front desk furious that CNN was broken. "Everyone's speaking nonsense," he said. When told he was watching Dutch news, he accused the hotel of illegally dubbing American broadcasts. At the Great Pyramid of Giza, an American tourist asked the guide about elevator access. When told there were only narrow tunnels, he complained that the structure violated modern safety codes and should be updated. On a bus in rural Japan, an American man stared at the rice fields and commented that they were inefficient. "In the US, we just flatten this and finish the job in an hour," he said proudly. My cousin from Florida once visited Montreal in winter and couldn't believe the city wasn't shut down. "Back home, this would be a state emergency," he said. "Your government is being irresponsible." In a hostel in Prague, an American bragged about freedom of speech in the US, until everyone else pointed out they had it too. He looked genuinely unsettled, like a core belief had collapsed. In London, an American tourist stared at a sign reading "Mind the Gap" and asked who Gap was and why people needed to be careful around him. In India, an American tourist criticized people bathing in the Ganges, muttering about germs and chlorine pools, ignoring centuries of spiritual tradition. At the Berlin Wall, an American asked why people on the bad side didn't just climb over it. The entire tour groaned. In Vancouver, an American customer examined Canadian money and accused me of giving him Monopoly cash. At the Normandy Cemetery, a young American wondered aloud why the soldiers weren't just flown home, unaware of the significance of where they were buried. Finally, an American backpacker once praised Amtrak as the best rail system in the world, while standing inside one of the largest and most complex train networks on Earth, complaining about how inefficient it was. "I was working at a